Are you looking for an alternative to the traditional sauna and you're wondering what products are on the market? If you are, then today's video is going to show you exactly what one of those alternatives is, and we're going to show you how well it works. Hi everybody, my name is Will Harlow and I'm the Over-Fifties specialist physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today we're going to be reviewing the HeatPod sauna blanket from the people at Hydrogun. Now, let's have a look at the product and then we'll talk about what it can do for you. Now, the HeatPod sauna blanket produced by Hydrogun is basically an alternative to traditional saunas for people who are still looking for the health benefits that saunas can give you. Now, unlike a traditional sauna, which is powered by coal or by electricity that heats the air, with this, you don't get that air temperature change that you do in a traditional sauna. Instead, the heat comes from infrared waves which penetrate through the skin and warm the body in a slightly different way. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about traditional saunas and how they work. So a traditional sauna is obviously a big pod or a big room that you sit in, which heats the air, causes the air to reach very, very high temperatures, and then that heats the body. Now, saunas have a whole host of health benefits, which we'll talk about in a bit, but the traditional saunas do have some drawbacks. Number one, they're quite uncomfortable to sit in just because they get so very hot. They're also not typically possible to have at home because of the running costs and the space you would need and the time they take to heat up. And by the time you've warmed it up, unless you have it on all day, you're probably not going to want to use it anymore. So most people have to rely on gyms or leisure centres, which can be very expensive. And the other thing is the health risks of the traditional sauna seem to be higher than the health risks of these infrared products instead. So the health risks of a traditional sauna include things like cardiovascular events. They include things like severe dehydration. They can also set off problems like heat exhaustion just because of the sheer heat that you're exposed to in one of those rooms. Now, I personally love the traditional sauna, but I was very interested to see how an infrared product might be different to what I've tried in the past. Obviously, when you go into a traditional sauna, you do feel very uncomfortable. So I was wondering how the feeling from the infrared product, this heat blanket, might differ from what I've experienced in the traditional versions as well. So let's talk about how this product, the sauna blanket, works, and then we'll talk about what benefits it could bring to you, and then I'm going to show you exactly how it works. So when we're looking at the sauna blankets, the first thing I'm going to do is just have a look at what they say it can do on the back of the box. So as I've explained to you before, this product uses safe zero EMF infrared technology, which basically causes light waves and these funny infrared waves that we can't pick up with our eyes to penetrate into the skin. And they penetrate about 1 to 1.5 inches deep into the body. And they warm the skin and they warm the tissues just inside the body just as much, which is what the manufacturers reckon, as a traditional sauna, but without raising the core temperature quite so high. So what researchers of infrared sauna products reckon is that the infrared waves can penetrate about 1 to 1.5 inches into the body and give the same benefits as a traditional sauna, just without some of the drawbacks, like the discomfort from raising the core body temperature. There won't be quite as much sweating. There won't be quite as much risk of dehydration or heat exhaustion as well. And that is exactly what this product is aiming to achieve. It's made of a premium sweat-resistant vegan leather. It feels lovely. It's really high quality, and we'll obviously be able to show you that in a moment. And it can raise to quite a significant temperature, and you have full control over what that temperature is. Now, the range that it can go from is between 86 Fahrenheit and 176 Fahrenheit. Okay, so that's roughly about 30 to 80 degrees centigrade. So that's similar to what you might expect from a traditional sauna in terms of the effect it can have on heating the skin, just without the same raise to core temperature as well. Now, the people at Hydrogun reckon that this product can boost your recovery, it can decrease aches and pains that you might be getting after training or after exercise, and they even say it can improve systemic health. Let's have a quick look at some of the literature though and see what the literature says about infrared saunas. Now, in any type of sauna, including infrared, there are three physiological things that happen to the body when we're exposed to it. The first one is that we see quite a dramatic increase in heart rate. And even at rest, your heart rate in the sauna can reach as high as 150 beats per minute. So with that raise in heart rate, we get similar effects on the body to what we would get if we were doing light to moderate exercise. So that's the first thing a sauna can do. The second thing it can do is it vasodilates the blood vessels in the body, which means that it takes them from being quite narrow to quite wide. So it increases their diameter. Now, what this does is it improves blood flow because it means that blood can travel through the blood vessels much more easily than it can when we're vasoconstricted, which means when the blood vessels are tightened. So it's proposed that sauna use can improve circulation, which is a big benefit to products like this. And then the other thing that use of any type of sauna can do is it increases sweating. Now, the increase in sweating might sound like a negative, but what that can do is it can improve your skin, it can improve the flow of the oil glands around the skin and clear out any waste products from the skin itself. So those are three positive effects, and from those effects is where we get the health benefits that sauna use can typically bring. So let's talk about what problems the HeatPod might have the potential to help with. Now, before I make any big claims about what the HeatPod can do, just remember that I'm basing the next things I'm going to say on the preliminary research about infrared saunas in general. There hasn't actually been any research done on the HeatPod sauna blanket yet because it's a new product, although I'd love to see some of these studies replicated with the HeatPod itself. Now, the first thing that it might have potential to help with are cardiovascular and peripheral circulation problems. There's been some pretty compelling data about sauna or infrared sauna use about circulatory problems and peripheral circulation issues as well, sort of peripheral vascular disease being one of them, because of the vasodilation effect that infrared sauna use has on the blood vessels. Now, vasodilation, like we said, is when we expand the diameter of the blood vessels so more blood can get through. And it can also help with problems like hypertension, so high blood pressure, which can sometimes be caused by a chronic vasoconstriction. So sauna use has been shown to improve blood pressure in some populations, and there's a chance that this product can do the same as well. Now, another topic that's been shown to have quite profound effects from infrared sauna use is pain. Now, sauna use in general can help pain from lots of different conditions. And when I have people who come to see me about back pain or knee arthritis, one of the first things I often recommend to them is to start putting heat on the problem area because it improves flexibility and that improves pain as well. Now, with the HeatPod and with infrared sauna, you're basically getting heat all over the body. So it has the same effect and it can reduce pain as well. Now, the other category of conditions that could benefit from more heat treatment are things like rheumatoid arthritis and other rheumatic problems. Obviously, you'd need to check with your consultant first, but many problems like rheumatoid arthritis do benefit from an overall heat treatment too. So that's another area of application. Another problem that infrared sauna has been shown to help with is muscle soreness after exercise. Now, if you've done a good exercise routine and you finish and afterwards you're going to have these aches and these pains, which can be really annoying and they can restrict your training the next day or stop you from doing just as much as you'd like to in the following days after the event. Now, with heat treatment, specifically with infrared sauna, it's been shown that these recovery times can be cut down significantly. So that's another application for the HeatPod. So if you're an athlete who does a very heavy training workload, it's not just ice you can use to recover, but also heat. and this product might be suited really well for you too. The final thing that's been shown to be helped with infrared sauna use is stress. Now, exposing the body to extreme hot and extreme cold, within reason obviously, has been shown to improve the release of endorphins, and it can help with things like the dopamine system and the serotonin system as well. So if you're feeling very stressed, you're obviously going to get positive effects from the heat too, but you'll also get the benefit of just having half an hour to relax and lie down and just enjoy your time in the HeatPod without too much physiological stress. So I think that's one of the benefits that I saw. We're going to talk about the other benefits I saw when I used it for a period of 3 weeks every single day. And then we'll talk about exactly what you can expect from it if you buy the product as well. Now, before we talk about how the HeatPod works, we should also talk about who should avoid using this product as well. Now, the list of people who should avoid it is not that long, but a lot of it comes down to individual circumstances. So it's always best to get checked by your doctor first. This video cannot give you accurate information as to who can and can't use it, because obviously we've never met. But here are some guidelines for people who need to be careful and maybe think twice. Now, if you have a cardiac problem, an active cardiac problem, it's always best to check with your doctor before you use a product like this, just in case. Obviously, the HeatPod may have the potential to help with some of these issues, but they always need to be checked out by the doctor first for your specific circumstances. The other people who might have problems using this product are people with skin problems like dermatitis. Obviously, because the blanket is making contact with the whole of your body, and you might start sweating when you use it as well, the contact between the fabric and the skin might be enough to trigger episodes of dermatitis. Obviously, the fabric that the people at Hydrogun have used to make the product is easy cleaning, so that's a big plus. But if you have severe skin problems, again, it's always best to check with your dermatologist or your doctor first before you use it. And then the final group of people who should avoid using this are anyone who's been told they should not use the sauna, or they should not use heat-based products, or they should not have their heart rate elevated by a significant amount. So in almost all cases, it makes sense to check with your doctor before you use the product. And if you've been told to stay away from it, definitely listen to that advice. So here we have the sauna blanket. As I said before, it's made of really good quality material. I was really impressed with it when I got it out of the box. So it's made of vegan leather, and basically that means obviously it's not from animal sources, and it's a really good product on the outside. And on the inside, you can just about feel the wires that provide the source of the infrared heat, but it's still very comfortable to lie in. So looking at it, it's basically like a sleeping bag. And when you're lying inside, it's got a cutout here for your chin, so your head will be here. We'll have a look at what it looks like on in a moment. But just to say, the quality and the build of it is really nice. It's got a very robust zip coming down the outside, so you can zip it open to get in, and then obviously zip it up when you're inside. Now, the controls are very easy to use on this product. So you plug it into the wall, and the other end plugs into the bottom of the HeatPod. And here you can see the control is very simple. You've just got an on and an off switch, and then you've got a temperature gauge. You can go right up to 176 degrees Fahrenheit. And then on the other side, you've got a time gauge, and you can choose how many minutes you put it on for. I think the maximum here we can get to is 60, and the minimum you can have 5 minutes. And obviously that timer will start as soon as you release your finger there. So when you start the timer and you've set your temperature to what you want it to be at, the HeatPod will start warming up straight away. And you can feel a little bit of heat on the outside, but on the inside, that's where the real heat is happening. Now, the guys who have manufactured this say that you shouldn't really be putting this on anything that can be flammable. So you wouldn't want it on a duvet. You might be able to use it on a carpet which is heat resistant, but you should check the manufacturer's labels first before you start. So here I am now inside the HeatPod sauna blanket. I've actually got this turned up to its maximum temperature. It's been on for about 1 minute, and already I can start to feel the heat sort of penetrating into my skin, and it's heating up my muscles. So I've gone into this feeling quite cold and already starting to feel warmer. Now, the nice thing about this is that, like I said, you're going to get very warm in it, but it's not going to get you to a point in a traditional sauna where your core body temperature is so high that you become uncomfortable. And what the hydrogun people recommend is you can do this in sort of just your underwear or in some swimwear. You can expose obviously your skin to it, but not your entire body has to be exposed to it. So they don't recommend doing it naked because obviously there's certain parts of your body that you want to protect, but you can do it in some clothes. You might actually find that you get better heat penetration with some clothes on, because I can still feel heat under the areas of my body that are clothed. Now, if you are starting out with the HeatPod sauna blanket, what most people should be doing is a short session to begin with, just to gauge exactly what kind of effects this is going to give you. So I'd recommend probably something like 15 minutes to begin with, just to see how you feel afterwards. You can obviously set the timer to 15 minutes on the temperature and control panel down there. And then once you've done your 15-minute session, the next time you do it, you might build up by 5 minutes. So go to 20, then 25, and then if you can, about 30 minutes is where most of the research shows the greatest benefits to happen. Okay. So as I've mentioned before in this video, the benefits we're looking for really are an increase in heart rate, an increase in circulation. You're probably also going to find after you've done 20, 30 minutes in this that your muscles become more flexible without having to stretch them just because of the effects of the heat. And you'll probably also find that you get an increase in sweating as well, which is great for the skin, and it also has its own effect on circulation too. Now, I could envisage this being pretty good for post-workout recovery. It would be good for recovery from a long walk or a long run. It'd also be quite good for things like arthritis, where heat tends to improve the pain around certain joints and around muscles that can become sore with this condition. And it may also be good for rheumatoid problems like rheumatoid arthritis or other problems that patients that we have see a rheumatologist for as well. Obviously, get checked out before you treat any specific medical condition. Now, the other thing I like about it is once you get out, you do feel like you've had a good amount of blood flowing to the legs and the arms. So if you're suffering from circulatory problems, this is another treatment option that may well be good. But again, check with your doctor or consultant first. Now let's talk about some of the effects that I personally noticed when I used the HeatPod sauna blanket for 3 weeks every single day. I started off using it for 20 minutes and then I increased that to 30 minutes after about the first 3 days. Now, the first thing I noticed when I was using the HeatPod sauna blanket is it was nowhere near as uncomfortable as using a proper sauna. Because of this, I was better able to relax when I was using the product, and I had this lovely feeling of relaxation afterwards as well. Now, that relaxation was so good that it actually lasted for a lot of the latter half of the day. And if I used the HeatPod sauna blanket in the afternoon or the evening, I actually found my sleep depth and quality and duration was much better after I'd used it. Now, I think this actually comes down to one of the effects that sleep scientists talk about, which is where if our body temperature is cooling, so if our body temperature is going from high to low, we become sleepy. That's just one of the effects. So we get this naturally. So when the sun sets, obviously the outside temperature drops and our body temperature drops as well. And that triggers sleepiness. The other thing I noticed when I was using it all the time is I actually had less muscle soreness. So I go to the gym reasonably regularly. I typically try and go 4 or 5 times a week. Usually the training I do is weights-based. Sometimes I do cardio as well. And because it's quite a hectic schedule along with a very busy work schedule, I do tend to get some muscle soreness after my sessions. Now, using the HeatPod really helped with that. I had less muscle soreness. I felt that I was recovering quicker and it allowed me to get even more out of the sessions when I did make it into the gym. And when I was using the HeatPod sauna blanket, I noticed something interesting, and that was that my heart rate didn't rise anywhere near as much as it does when I'm in a traditional sauna. So when I'm in a traditional sauna, I sometimes wear my heart rate watch, and it will show me my heart rate gets as high as about 130 beats per minute even at rest. Now in the HeatPod, it only raised to about 75 or 80 beats per minute. My baseline is high 50s, so kind of 57, 58 is about resting for me. So going up to about 75, 80, I didn't really feel a huge physiological strain. When I'm in a traditional sauna, however, that's very different. In that circumstance, you can feel your heart pounding, you feel very uncomfortable, and there was none of that with the HeatPod sauna blanket. And the other thing I noticed because of that difference in raise of body temperature is I didn't sweat anywhere near as much. So I wasn't laying there on the floor at home sweating. I just had this warmth throughout my body. I would get a bit of a sweat on, but nothing like you do when you go to a traditional sauna. So if you're put off by those things in a traditional sauna, then this product might be a good alternative. So that is the HeatPod sauna blanket from Hydrogun. Overall, I think it's a really strong product, but I would like to see a little bit more research as to how the sauna blankets, whether or not they have the same effect as using an infrared sauna itself. So I think the jury is still out on that. We shall wait with bated breath as the researchers have a look at products like this. Overall, I think this is a good product for recovery after sport. It's a good product if you want relaxation, and it's a good product if you want better sleep. It had all of those effects for me. I can't yet comment on its effects on circulation just because we don't know, and I can't comment on its effects for pain relief either. So I think the jury is still out on those two things, but it might be worth a try. Now, it seems like it's probably a safe product for most people. Obviously, get checked by your doctor first if you're not sure. But overall, I think the people at Hydrogun are onto a really good bit of kit here. I'd be very interested to hear other people's experiences with it as well. At the time of recording, it comes with a $499 price tag, so it's not cheap. But obviously, the technology inside it and the quality of the build, I feel justify the price tag. Unfortunately, it's only available at present in the US, so our international viewers might have to wait a little longer, although the people at Hydrogun tell me they are planning to get it deliverable for an international audience as well. Anyway, that's all from me. If you'd like to check out the product, please use the link below this video because it will take you to the Hydrogun website where you can have a look at the product and see more details about it for yourself. I hope that video has helped. If it has, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and like it so more people can find it too. And if you want more from me personally, you can pick up a copy of my book. It's called Thriving Beyond 50 and you can find it on Amazon using the link below this video. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your time and I look forward to speaking to you on the next video.